Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take that stack of sources you've shared with us and, well, we dig in. We try to uncover the key insights.
Exactly, those aha moments. We're aiming to help you get well-informed and quickly.
We're your guides, basically, pulling out what seems most important from the material you give us, helping connect the dots.
And today, we're jumping into something interesting. Sales psychology.
Yeah, specifically based on these excerpts you sent over from a source called Mastering Sales Psychology, 10 Principles for Selling Anything.
And right off the bat, this source makes a pretty bold claim. It argues that, real success in selling, it's not actually about the product.
Not primarily, anyway. It's more about understanding the human psyche, people.
Right. The core idea here, at least according to this source, is that if you master these 10 principles, you can find, sustainable success because you're connecting on a deeper level.
So our goal for this deep dive is pretty straightforward. Unpack these 10 principles.
We need to understand what they are, obviously, but maybe more importantly, why this source thinks they matter, and crucially, how they suggest you actually use them.
Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, sales psychology. I'm not in sales.
And that's a fair point.
Totally. But what's kind of fascinating here, and the source hints at this, is how these ideas, they really stretch beyond just, selling stuff.
Oh, absolutely. They touch on understanding motivation, improving communication, building real trust.
Skills that are valuable pretty much anywhere, right? Leading a team, working on relationships, just getting your point across effectively.
Exactly. So yeah, lots to potentially take away here, even if sales isn't in your job title.
Okay, then. Let's unpack this source. Let's get into these 10 principles it lays out.
All right. Principle number 1, building a positive attitude.
And the source doesn't just list it. It really emphasizes this, calls it the foundation.
Yeah, it argues that this positive attitude isn't just internal, it sort of radiates energy.
Okay, radiates energy. How does that play out?
Well, the source suggests this energy makes customers feel more comfortable, more open to actually, engaging with you.
Makes sense. And is this something you just have?
No, that's a key point from the
Yes.
source. Building it takes continuous practice. It's active.
Practice. Like how?
Like actively finding the good in situations, even the tough ones, like rejection. The source frames rejection not as failure, but as an opportunity.
An opportunity to learn and improve. That's an interesting spin.
It is. It shifts the perspective.
So thinking about that,
Yeah.
that practice of positivity, seeing pushback as just information, how does that change any interaction you might have? Not just sales.
It could change the whole dynamic, right? Makes it less adversarial, maybe more collaborative.
Okay, so building on that positive base. Principle 2.
Understanding your customers. The source calls this the key to their hearts. A bit poetic, maybe, but...
Yeah. But what does it mean practically?
It means going beyond just the words. The source talks about needing to sort of read minds.
Read minds. Okay, maybe not literally.
No, not literally. But paying close attention to body language, tone, even what's not being said. The subtext.
The unspoken stuff. Got it. Any techniques mentioned?
Yes, specifically, it advises against closed questions. You know, the ones that just get a yes or no, like, are you interested?
Right. Those don't tell you much.
Exactly. Instead, it pushes for open questions. Things like, what's most important to you here? Or, what problems are you hoping to solve?
Okay, questions that get people talking.
Precisely. And the outcome, the source says, is that customers feel genuinely understood. And that builds trust.
That link between listening, asking the right questions, and building trust. That feels pretty universal.
It really does. Making someone feel heard, that's powerful in any relationship.
Okay, principle 3, building self-confidence.
The source calls this visible power, which is a strong phrase.
Visible power. How so?
They argue customers pick up on your confidence, and if they sense you're confident, they gain confidence in you and, by extension, what you're offering.
But is it just about acting confident, like puffing out your chest?
No, the source is very clear on this. It's not bravado. It comes from deep knowledge and understanding.
Okay, so it's earned confidence.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they detail how thorough preparation, really studying your subject, knowing the pros and the cons, being ready for tough questions.
When you've done the homework, the confidence is real.
That's the idea. It shines through naturally.
So confidence born from preparedness. Think about giving a presentation or a job interview when you know your stuff.
Right. It makes a huge difference. It's not just a feeling, it's something you actively build.
Okay, moving on. Principle 4, goal setting.
The source calls this your guiding compass,
Yeah.
provides direction.
And not just sales targets.
No,
Yeah.
exactly. The source is broader. It includes personal development goals, relationship goals, learning goals. It's holistic.
How do they suggest setting these goals? Any specific method?
Yeah, they recommend the SMART framework. You've probably heard of it. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound.
Ah, SMART goals. Classic.
Yep. The source says using this structured approach helps you plan better and execute more efficiently.
Makes sense. Having that clarity. It focuses your effort, doesn't it?
Yeah.
For any kind of project, really.
Absolutely. It avoids wasted effort.
Principle 5, then.
Product presentation. And again, the source pushes beyond the basics. It's not just listing features.
What is it, then?
It's about telling compelling stories.
Stories.
Stories that help the customer visualize how the product or service actually changes their life, solves their specific problem.
Making it tangible, relatable.
Precisely. And there's a technique mentioned, feature advantage benefit, FAB.
FAB. Break that down.
You start with a feature, what it is, then the advantage, what it does, and crucially, the benefit, how it helps them, the customer.
Feature, advantage, benefit. And the benefit is the key.
That's what the source stresses, connecting it directly to the customer's real needs. That's where the power is.
That idea of framing things as benefits, telling that story, that applies way beyond products, doesn't it? Explaining an idea, a plan.
Totally. People connect with benefits and stories much more than just dry facts.
Okay, principle 6. This one sounds important. Managing objections.
Yeah, and the source has a really interesting take here. It reframes objections completely.
Yeah, so they're usually seen as bad news.
Not according to this source. They see them as normal, even positive, as opportunities to understand the customer better.
Opportunities, really?
Yeah, the thinking is if someone raises an objection, it means they're still engaged, they're thinking it through, they need more info or reassurance.
Okay. So how do you handle them then, according to the source?
There's a clear technique: listen, understand, respond.
Listen, understand, respond. Sounds simple.
Simple, but maybe not easy in the moment. The key is don't argue, don't jump in defensively.
Right. Listen fully first.
Then show you understand their concern, validate it, even if you don't agree. Then, and only then, provide information to address it.
That approach feels like it could diffuse almost any disagreement. Prioritizing understanding before you make your case.
It's a very different way to handle conflict, isn't it? Focusing on making the other person feel heard first. Big potential benefits there.
Definitely. Okay, next up. Principle 7. Closing the sale.
The source calls this the critical moment.
High stakes. What's the advice?
It's about reading the signals. Knowing when the moment is right to suggest moving forward or asking for the decision, but without being pushy.
Reading signals.
Like what?
The source mentions buying signals, things like asking specific questions about delivery times or warranties, payment options, stuff that indicates they're seriously considering it.
Ah, okay, they're moving past general interests.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when you see those signals, the source suggests techniques like offering a clear choice.
A choice.
Yeah, like would you prefer option A or option B? It makes the decision feel less abstract, easier to make.
That makes sense. Guiding them gently towards a decision by making it concrete. That's useful anywhere you need someone to commit to something.
Right. Project decisions, planning dinner.
Ah, yeah, maybe even dinner plans. Okay, principle 8, time management, a classic. The source emphasizes time as your most valuable resource. Success isn't just working hard, it's working smart.
Okay, standard advice. Any specific tips from the source?
Well, it talks about allocating time based on importance and potential return, spending more time, naturally, with high probability or high value customers.
Prioritizing. Makes sense. Anything else?
Yes, and this is interesting. Deliberately setting aside time for learning and self-development.
Ah, investing in yourself.
Exactly. The source argues this yields crucial long-term returns, even if it's not immediately making a sale.
So time management isn't just about scheduling tasks. It's also about strategic self-investment.
That's the gist. Balancing immediate demands with long-term growth. That improves effectiveness in any field, surely.
Definitely. Principle 9.
Building long-term relationships. This goes beyond just the single transaction.
So it's not just about the sale, it's about what happens after.
Precisely. The source states clearly, true success is in lasting relationships. Satisfied customers come back.
And they tell others. Word of mouth.
Exactly. They become advocates. And how do you build these relationships? The source says it requires genuine care.
Genuine care, Meaning,
Meaning you show interest even when you're not actively selling. Following up after the sale, checking satisfaction, offering advice, helping solve related problems.
being a resource, not just a vendor.
That's a good way to put it. And that kind of investment in relationships, showing you care consistently, builds a strong network and reputation anywhere, personally or professionally.
Makes total sense. Okay, last one, principle 10.
Developing sales skills,
Ah,
which brings us back to the individual.
and the core idea here.
The world changes fast, right? Techniques evolve. So the source argues success demands continuous learning and adaptation. They literally say learning never ends.
Okay, lifelong learning. How do they suggest developing these skills?
Through a few things. Practice, obviously, but also observing successful people figuring out why they succeed and actively experimenting with new methods.
Trying things out, seeing what works. What about failure?
Ah, the source addresses that directly. Failure isn't the opposite of success. Failure is learning, and learning is growth.
Failure's learning. That's a powerful mindset shift.
Isn't it? And that whole cycle practice, observe, experiment, learn from failures, that's not just for sales, is it? That's how you master any skill, thrive in any career, especially now with things changing so quickly.
Absolutely. It's a blueprint for navigating change, period.
So, wrapping it all up, the source suggests that mastering this kind of psychology takes patience, it takes intention, and yeah, that continuous practice.
And when you approach it that way, selling becomes less about pushing products and more like an art that creates value.
That's the idea. And the core message, the real punchline from the source's conclusion seems to be this. The best selling is simply helping customers get what they truly need.
Focus on helping them, and success follows, sustainably.
So we've walked through these 10 principles from the source material you sent us,
Mhm.
explored the what and the why according to this text. As you've been listening, what's really stood out to you?
And maybe here's a final thought to chew on, something sparked by the source's perspective. If the very best selling is really about helping people get what they need, does that change how you view interactions where you're trying to connect or influence or guide someone, even outside of a formal sales role?
Could it be that selling in its highest form, as this source implies, is really just a profound act of helping?
Something to think about. We definitely encourage you to keep exploring how these principles might resonate or apply in your own life, your own work.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.